Alright, now's the time to make a Happy Father's Day video. Happy Father's Day to my biological father, and here are some fond memories of him. When I was a wee young child, I remember I was 4 years old, I did something very bad. Or at least bad on the sense of, I was playing a basketball game outside with my older brother and some kid in our, neighborhood area. And then me being like, I don't know, fucking 4 or 7, not knowing any better and not knowing about how the female body was gonna be so sexualized and stuff. I thought it would be funny to do what I saw people do all the time in those R-rated movies I watched when I was around that age because my mom was a fucking idiot. I flashed my butt crack and said, kiss my ass, when I fucking won like several basketball round shots. And then my mom did the absolutely appropriate thing of deciding to beat my ass for like 7 hours straight. Like beating the fuck out of me, tossing me in the shower, putting on scalding hot water, beating my ass again, putting on scalding cold water, stripping me naked and forcing my older brother to stare at my naked body without my consent while mocking me. And then beating the shit out of me some more. And basically, the entire day, she basically just took out her frustration and anger on me over what could have been a temporary embarrassment or a good lesson. Or instead, she just went, I'm going to give my child so much irreplaceable, damaging trauma, and I'm going to live my life that way. And then I remember specifically she then was so mad at me that even after like maybe 7, 8, probably even fucking more ass beatings and not eating all day and all that miserable bullshit, she tried to bring me one singular towel and one fucking tiny pillow and then force me to sleep on her bathroom floor as punishment. And I remember screaming and crying and refusing for hours until she finally gave in. And who did I see laying in bed with her? And he didn't even live with us? My biological father, the pathetic fucking loser who is not worthy of really anything in my life. And that had effects because I remember that I forget my age exactly, but it was between 4 or 8. I remember I was so fucking tiny and small. Like my legs were as skinny as my wrists, and my wrists are actually ridiculously tiny. I was hanging out with a fucking 9-year-old recently, and I was like, holy shit, my wrist is thinner than yours. And fuck, my legs were probably even thinner than this. And you mean to tell me that you abused the fuck out of a child despite being like fucking, my mom's a very large woman. I'm not gonna mock her with some fat phobic language, but I will just say she was an Andre the Giant built woman. And so there was no need to harm her children like the Trunchbull, basically. Like a weird fucking woman. She was like Precious's mom from the movie Precious. She was like literally Mother Dearest and Precious mixed together, all in the shell of a light skinned woman, and she was not a good parent. And then there he was, just deciding, oh yes, I know she still has a restraining order against me, but I'm gonna hold her hand in bed and just like talk to her. And like the only thing he actually did, I think, was eventually convinced her, like, hey, don't make her sleep on the floor in the bathroom. She can sleep on the floor in your bedroom. And that was kind of it. And it's like, wow. On the bright side, you can tell I'm healing from this shit because I'm actually finally processing this trauma. Before, I wasn't even open to talking about this story, but here I am just casually saying it because I gave myself caffeine so that I would not be a total depressed mess. And I'm like, yeah, let me just talk about it. I'm just saying, this is a very big breakthrough that I'm even sharing this story because even to this day, despite being fucking almost 24 years old now, here I am. It took me this long to actually be able to say what I did in that story because I still to this day felt shame. And that and what my dad's side of the family with their Muslim ideals did to me, let's just say that and my mom's fucked up controlling abusive relationship, it did a lot of damage to my mental health and my psyche and how I perceived myself and how I viewed sexuality and the female body. And yeah, but that's a topic for another video. Let's stay on the topic of how my biological father is someone that I see as an idiot who nutted in my mom and not someone who actually has any blood ties to me. I see him the same way I see niggas who stand outside of gas stations catcalling women, or dudes who loiter in front of convenience stores, not to ask for money, just to like harass people and act like they're friends with everybody. I see him as lame as fuck. The only things he ever did that actually benefited me in my life, let's see, I think sometimes he would give his card to my grandmother, but even then I don't fully know that, just so that they could finally take me school shopping for decent clothes when my mom was being a neglectful mother in my middle school years and some of my high school years. I remember that when I was 14, he got me a phone. I was grateful for that because the exact summer before was the worst summer of my fucking life, and at least it gave me personal freedom to be in chat rooms or to talk to people or to have resources to safety and contact people and That was good. So that was something good that he did. Good job to him for that. Funny enough, I remember that birthday. The good part of that birthday was him getting me that fucking Samsung Galaxy S7, if I recall correctly. Not bad, not bad. And the downside was, I remember we went to somewhere really shitty for my birthday at the time. He didn't call me, like, I looked nice. Ooh, he also never called me pretty. Yeah, we can talk about that. Let's wake that up. But let me stay on topic. I remember for my 14th birthday, we went to, I think it was I don't know. Could have been one of those shitty chain restaurants like Applebee's, IHOP, Chili's. But either way, I remember I told him, like, meekly, because I wasn't used to asking for things. I was like, and also because most people don't have to ask their dad to remember this, but I was like, hey, if you tell them that it's my birthday, they might give us free ice cream. He was like, okay. And then the waiter came by and he was like, oh, it's her birthday, by the way. And then the waiter was like, oh, well, happy birthday then. And then walked off. And then I told him, oh, they're supposed to give us like a slice of cake or ice cream or something. And I persisted. And then he asked the waiter about it. And the waiter was like, oh, no, you have to sign up for our email for that. And then I also had the worst fucking food ever. I remember they brought out, I think it was something like shrimp Alfredo. But then the pasta noodles were both overcooked and undercooked at the same time. There wasn't really any shrimp in it. And then they actually, and I shit you not, it looked like they put like a single spoonful dollop and a half of Alfredo sauce uncooked on top on the fucking pasta because it was not covering any of the noodles. And I asked my fucking dad to help me out with that, and then he tried half-assed. He was like, "Hi, her food is bad." And the waiter was like, "Oh, what's up with your food?" And I said, "Oh, well, straight up, well, I didn't say straight up. I was fucking 14, but I did say, oh, it doesn't seem like it has any sauce on it. Do you have any more sauce that we could add to it?" And they were like, oh, I'm sorry. We're actually out of that type of sauce. But you know what? We have this really, really good, like, Tuscany red tomato sauce that would pair really well with that. And I was like, oh, cool. Can I have some of that then? And then the waiter said immediately, yeah, we don't have that either. We're out of that. And then just walked out. Yeah, what the fuck? I have a lot of beef with customer service people, but I'm trying to make one video at a time, but that might be one of my next videos. Anyway, let's go along with this story. I remember when I was younger for my birthday, he got me some Bratz dolls, and I think I don't think it was a Bratz dream house, but it was like some cute little island girl Bratz set. Like, where I could play with my dolls on it. I thought that was cute, I thought that was cool, that was a good gift. But aside from that, it's like I can't remember any other gift he's given me, any other thing he's done for me. I will give him credit in this way, and this is actually a good sign that I still am finding good things to. Because I remember once when I was younger, he rented from Blockbuster when that was a thing. This cute little a few Hello Kitty disc movies, and he did not actually really bother to make an effort to bond with me as a kid. Like, he was not that type of dude. But on the bright side, I still have a memory of like, okay, I'm alone in his bedroom. He tucked me into bed because he was not a good dad, but he at least went, I'm gonna tuck her into bed because I think that's what you're supposed to do to stop kids from falling out. Even though I was definitely past the age of falling out of bed. I don't know. He wanted to be nice. And then he rented me the movies, and I watched the movies, and then he also never rented me the movies again, despite me multiple times over the years saying I wanted to rent the movies again. But anyway, I'll give him credit for that. I'll give him credit for that. Anyway, I was gonna make this video be super hostile and aggressive towards him, but I think he should consider his fucking days very, very blessed that I'm actually saying a bunch of good things. Why? Because I am a reasonable person. I'm not some evil motherfucker who just wants to get online and say all the bad shit this nigga has done. I will slip in the good parts, just like how with my estranged siblings, they weren't always evil fucking pieces of shit. Sometimes they had good moments. Sometimes, like, that's the thing. Not all abusive family members or shitty, neglectful family members were always shitty and neglectful. Some were unlucky in that department. Others got like 80-20. Or like 80% shithole, 20% decent moments that made you smile. Or even if they don't make you smile, it's like, okay, I'll at least give them credit for that. But he was not a good guy. Funny enough, tying into my phone, that phone was dry from him for years. The only time he ever actually would text me would be, how do I put this? He used to not text me at all. He would text my mother, who still actively had a restraining order against him. And she'd be like, why are you texting me about how Tamia's doing? You should actually contact, your actual daughter who you bought a phone for. So that, that was the whole point. So that then you can stop fucking messaging me and message her instead. And we talked about that shit. We made that shit abundantly fucking clear. I remember at some point my mom had to get in my face screaming at me, like, tell your fucking dad to stop contacting me. There's no fucking reason he should be contacting me on my phone. I have an active restraining order against him. Tell him to stop fucking contacting me. Because you have a phone. He bought you that phone. He pays for your plan. He should be contacting you, not me. And then she would just keep fucking yelling and going around the house screaming her head off. Losing her absolute fucking mind. Because I get it. It's annoying as shit. But it's also, and then that was one of those moments I literally had to contact him myself and be like, hey, so, um, my mom's asked if you could stop contacting her and just contact me instead. And this nigga go and say, oh, why? And then I just said straight up, well, my mom is screaming her head off and yelling at me and threatening me, all because, like, you keep contacting her despite having a restraining order to ask her about how I'm doing when you should just be contacting me about how I'm doing. And then he was like, oh, okay, sure. And he used to always, the way he would contact her was like, oh, hey, how you doing? How are you doing? How's Tamia? How are you? How are things with your husband? Is life good? Your son's good? Your other daughter good? Like, it's like, nigga, she does not want to talk to you. She hates you. She hates everybody. That got on my fucking... And then guess what? I didn't get texted by that nigga again for several years. He did try to make more of an effort during my teen years, but I'm gonna just say with the obvious fuck... Like, how do I put this? If any memory I have of him is him sitting in his room playing video games, not making an effort with me. Begrudgingly, like, taking me out to get a burger. Memories of my grandmother being like, come on, you two, hug, act like you know each other. And then he would just... and I would... my way into, like, hugging him just to, like... for like half of a second to appease his mom. Like, I don't have good memories with that man. And now I can tell I'm about to get emotional, but it is like, yeah, even before, when my first fucking memories of that ugly ass, bitch ass nigga, the only thing he did give me, skin color, jawline, thank you, forehead size, thank you. My mom had too much forehead. I got butt from his side of the family. I would have been fucked if I was just, I got height from his family. I think I got waist from his family, thank God. I got eyebrows from his family. I'm grateful for that. And I got a whole bunch of fucking stress and weird trauma from his side of the family. Definitely lower in compared to the stuff my main family did, but still relevant. One of my very earliest memories with that nigga, aside from the horrific story of my mom beating my ass and him snuggling up against her like a fucking slut with his whore ass. He's a whore. Fuck you if you see this. You're a fucking nasty bitch, and I laugh every time I think about you crying the last time you ever fucking saw me. Stupid bitch. Sorry, it's obvious I do not like this stupid fucking man. I remember I was on a playground, and this is also something that you should be careful of if you have a kid, because they remember things, and it is like foreshadowing for your overall character as a person. I remember I was on a playground with my older brother, older sister, and him. And then I was upside down on something. I don't know if it was a monkey bar or like one of those lower end things that you do a flip on. Either way, I messed up and I was dangling and my underwear was showing and I could not get myself down properly. And I asked, like, help, hey, can you help me? Please. And I was crying and this nigga just decided, oh, you got it. And he just, with his hands in his pockets, just stared at me as I dangled and dangled and dangled upside down until I eventually busted my ass and busted my face super hard on very sharp mulch. And my pants fell down and so did my underwear. And I was fucking hurt and embarrassed. And he still, with the entire blank face he had and his hands in his pockets, he was like, alright, get up. Like, stupid ass Nick. And yeah, like, and then I remember in my late teen years, like my grandmother and my aunt on my dad's side, aka my dad's sister and mother, they tried to be all, oh, well, your mom was keeping us away. Your mom kept us from you. And I just said, well, that's a fucking lie. Because if that were any parts true, how come when I had a phone and all the free time in the world and actual access to him, he was still not vouching for me? If anything, she was actively encouraging me to have a good opinion of him and to see him like age 10 and up. She was fostering that. And you were not like, and he still was not. And nothing was being done. And he would still hide in his room watching fucking X-Men or Marvel movies or playing on his Xbox and then not saying a single fucking word to me. And yeah, that's not cool. Let's get even more depressing. Alright, now let's catch up to recent events. One of the last few times I saw my biological father, I remember that It was right after my mother attacked me, and I had the scars that I got, and I'm sure you can still see them on my face, right there, that light mark here, and then there's another mark, but you can't see from this lighting. Well, it's okay, it doesn't really fucking matter. Just everybody remembers my mom attacking me. It's a factor to our estrangement. And I remember that asshole, like, he was called by her and me to come pick me up, but he wasn't doing it. I don't know, he just didn't bother, didn't have any urgency ever. And then eventually he did stop by the house, and then he said hi to everybody else. Like, he said hi to his grandmother, to his mom, his sister, everybody except for his wounded fucking child with the bloody scars on her face. And that was not fun. That is like, oh, okay, you're just gonna openly ignore me still to this day and show me how fucking lame you are, even in a time of distress, when you can at least pretend to care. Like, during his teen years, he did try to reach out a bit, but mainly out of guilt. He was like, oh, hey, sweetheart, how are you? How's life? And I'd send back messages saying that I was good or whatever, and he'd keep trying to insist on taking me out to dinner or whatever, but simply put, I didn't agree to them, because simply put, I still didn't consider it making a real effort. Because it's like, okay, aside from random texts, or just like the occasional birthday text, nothing else in his life really showed that he was actually there for me or cared for me, you know? Not really. That fucks with people. Huh, I remember once when I was in good contact with my mom, I actually had an incident where I cried in front of her and just explained how, like, if something bad happened to him, like, I wouldn't even really care because I have so non existent of a bond with him. Like, it's not good if your own kid can count out, like, the amount of times she's had a good experience with you in her lifetime on one fucking hand. I never want a relationship like that with the father of my kids. That shit's fucking stupid. And I remember she felt so heartbroken because she definitely chose the wrong man to have a kid with. And she should be. What a stupid fucking asshole. And I don't know. I guess in my teen years, I kind of was thinking to myself, why am I not forgiving him? Why won't I just give him like the benefit of the doubt and go out for lunch with him? But during that time, I was already sexually assaulted by my first ex-boyfriend, and then was already dealing with sexual trauma and nudes surrounding my second one, and nonstop bullying and harassment. And the last thing I needed was to get involved with some Muslim fucking dude who doesn't even like really give a shit about me, but probably just wants to feel like he's gonna go to heaven if he had another heart attack. Also, funny enough, when I was 14, when I was dating that first ex, I remember specifically that he told every fucking other person in my life about him having a heart attack except for me. So it's like, how come kids that aren't even yours know? How come no one told me? And I guess his excuse was, ooh, I just didn't want you to worry. No, it just felt like he didn't fucking care and forgot about me. It's actually kind of funny. This is the most. I think only recently am I having more emotional feelings around the whole Father's Day shit. Because I've been exposed to like actual dads who try, who have good relationships with their kids and know their hobbies and interests. And I remember, like, you know how I said my mom attacked me, and there was that weird period where I was staying at like my grandmother on my dad's side's place, and we'd see each other. I remember to keep my sanity at that place because it was also pretty fucking awful there. It's not good living with the Muslim schizophrenic bitch and some not so nice, not so wonderful aunts on that side either. She was a control freak. I don't miss that time period whatsoever. It was an awful time. But on the bright side, it's the 3-year anniversary. 3 years without them. God bless. Funny enough, I ran into my aunt recently. I don't want to talk about it though. I'll put it like this to stay calm. I remember to stay sane at that household. I did painting and I did artwork. I drew this really nice, immaculate piece of art. It was a bunch of like multicolored orange roses in a sort of like Picasso-y art style with splatters all over it. And I got a lot of praise for how good the art was. And I remember my dad stopped by and he just was like, oh shit, that is really nice. I didn't know you could draw. And then how do I put this? That's also kind of sad because it's like here he is actually trying to show like affection and praise as a father figure and be a good person. But it just broke my heart further because it's like, oh, I've been drawing my entire fucking life. Like, Jesus, since I was in like third, fourth grade, I've been drawing really amazing art pieces. And you're only learning now that I'm 20 that it was ever something I did at all. You can't ever say you're a good fucking father if the main interest your daughter has had you don't even know about. That. Oh, I will say something good, though, to offset it. I kind of knew at some point that my dad was only good for money, because that's the thing that was consistently shown to me. Like, if I needed. Like, if I wanted something expensive or big, he could chip in at the very least or pay for the whole thing. I will say this good memory to be a palate cleanser. Ugh, fucking hate this stupid son of a bitch. I remember I told him once, like, hey, I would like to get a film camera and some equipment for my filmmaking goals if you're open to helping me out with that. And he said, sure, I'll meet you soon. And then we met up like the very next day or so, and I was in his car. I was telling him all about my inspirations for filmmaking. Like, ooh, Issa Rae, she started off small on YouTube and then she built herself up and became this huge, amazing filmmaker and film artist, and how she's so big and talented. And I'd been studying and researching that shit for years at that point, writing scripts, and I was like, you know what? Let's actually get ahead in my life. Let's actually put some footwork down to make my life quality better. And so I did, and I told him all of my goals about, like, ideally starting small with like short films and YouTube and vulnerable videos like this, and my own online talk show, and then building up until one day I can actually become a nice, critically acclaimed film director who has like massive life of achievements and everything. And I remember, like, he was still stoic or whatever. He was still like, oh, okay, sure. And he bought me like a very fancy, like, $800 video camera. And then on top of that, he got me a Blue Yeti mic. And I think that was, yeah, a Blue Yeti mic and a film camera. And also a tripod with a mic to put on top of the camera for extra. And I remember, I was so happy that day, and that did actually increase my opinion of him. Even though it couldn't change everything I already knew about him, it still helped that it was like, okay, that's that was something good. So he did well in that department. I'll give him credit for that. And because he did that, God bless his soul, I'm grateful that he did that. I've been able to have good opportunities to be videographers and got paid to do certain work already. So I am still grateful. I am. I can just still recognize that sadly at the end of the day he was not a very good father. And then I guess the final memory I have of him. I don't want to talk too much about that last fateful day, but I will say this. Let's just say I retrieved stuff that I was legally allowed to. And I was in his car talking to him about like all the shit that happened between me and my mom for years, and even stuff between me and him. And he said several dumbass things. He was like, oh, well, when you were younger, when you were like 4, you didn't even want to talk to me. Like, a phone works both ways types shit. And it's like, oh, you mean that the 4-year-old should be the one picking you up and calling you and saying that she wants to see you? You do know you're the dad, right? If your kid says they don't want to see you, like, you're still the dad, you still make plans to see them anyway. You still put in an effort to foster a good relationship. You don't like, are you fucking stupid? Are you fucking stupid? Yeah, he is. And he was just, it's like, oh, okay, so you're gonna tell a 4-year-old. You're gonna tell me that because a 4-year-old was like, oh, I don't like you because you haven't been a very good, like, I don't know, you're just fucking boring and you don't put in an effort and you suck. Like, really, congratulations. That should have been your cue to go, I need to be a better dad. Not, I'm going to withdraw entirely as a grown fucking man. You stupid son of a bitch. I don't like losers. Even though my dating history says different. I'm sure someone can do some sort of Freudian shit about like, oh hey, does your fucked up relationship with your dad and your fucked up relationship with your mom lead you to be hyper independent and not believing you could ever need or use a man for anything, but also seeing the best in men and taking them at face value, and then being in fucked up relationships where you put too much faith in men and thought that they could grow. And I don't know, I'm sure someone can connect those dots. Let's save that for another video. This one's a little long and I don't want to disgust myself too bad. Let's just focus my disgust on him. Anyway, back to what I was saying. The last time I ever saw him, he said several things that solidified exactly why I felt the way I did my whole life. He said a phone works both ways, and you didn't want to see me when you were younger, and way even when you were like 4. So yeah, it's like you're fuck. It's like kids don't hate people like that unless you really give them reasons to hate you. They're actually pretty decent judges of character, especially that young. Not to say every 4 year old is rational and reasonable, but if a kid doesn't like you, you gotta really figure out why. Because they usually you did some shit. Two, oh yeah, he said that he thought it was wrong of me to fight back against my mom. Mind you, is and he knew the full context. It's like she hit me first, she attacked me first, she sat her bare fucking pussy, only separated by a thin layer of spandex from her nasty ass, funky ass leggings, onto my face as she was pummeling me and scratching and clawing at me. And I weighed like 1/3 of her fucking weight. And yet he was like, "Oh, I think it's wrong of you to hit your mom back." Oh, you mean when I was trying to shove her off of me? And when I was trying to use my legs to kick to hopefully wriggle myself free? And that with my only free hand I could, I was trying to physically get her off of me? That's me being bad? Oh, okay, fuck you. And that's extra funny because actually, here's another semi good memory, but one that shows he's a hypocrite. He once bragged to me about whacking my mother in the face. He once bragged to me about how once he got in a fight with my mom when they were together over some dumb shit before I was born, and how my mom, with her temperament, she hit him. And then he was like, "Oh, well, I had to show her that hitting people is not right when you're mad, so I hit the bitch back." And like, no, he said he hit her ass. He was like, "I hit her ass back." I forgot he would not call her a bitch, not, or at least not in front of me. He would say that though. And then how my mom started boohooing and crying and playing the victim, and then how my grandmother put a gun in his face and threatened him to get the fuck out. So yeah, it's like, oh, so you mean to tell me that back then, when my 5'2", 5'3" mother hit your big 6 foot something ass and smacked you, and you smacked her ass just because you felt like it to teach her a lesson, that was bad. But oh, when your fucking scrawny ass Ethiopian 10 cents a day ass daughter actually fucking needs to be defended because this bitch is actively assaulting her, and all she's doing is bare minimum self defense to get her ass off. Suddenly I'm the fucking bad guy. And then he also kept trying to convince me to forgive my mom, not file a police report against what she did despite all the bloody scratch marks on my face, and that basically I should go back and live with my mom. All that shit happened, and next, let's just say between that and what happened with my grandmother, let's just say one thing led to another. I just was like, yeah, any place but here is better. Because my grandmother on my dad's side, she heard about, like, she just was increasing in her. I don't want to go too much into it, or else I'm gonna lose my mind. I will say this, though. My grandmother went from like, fuck all this, fuck all that, you gotta go, dramatic effect. I was like, okay, and I just calmly like packed up my stuff, and that's when my grandmother on my dad's side and my dad were both trying to go, Tamia, you don't have to leave, because they saw I was actually fine about leaving. Was it scary? Yes, I didn't know where I was gonna go next, but I still had some money in my bank account, and I knew this is gonna be the final time I see any of these people again, and they knew that too, and they didn't like that. My grandmother was calling me anything but a child of God. She was saying I was demonic, that I was the devil, that I was fucking evil, all this fucked up shit. And I didn't even do shit. And that's so funny. It's like, oh, that's what a woman of God will do to her child who's been abused actively. How interesting. And then let's just say I just refused repeatedly and just calmly dragged like several bags of heavy shit down the stairs. And my biological father, with his stupid ass, I still remember him looking at me from the top of the stairs and trying to be like, "You do know I could drive you to wherever you're gonna go, right? Where are you gonna go? You can't just tell me where you're, like, where are you really gonna go next? To me, why won't you stay here?" And I just told him, because I can't. It's not safe for me to be here. I can't be here. And there's nothing more to say. I cannot be here. Fuck. This is a heavy topic for me. We're getting through a lot today. Damn. I will say this. I remember him just trying to insist to help me carry my stuff down, or to help me get a ride this place or that place, or like trying to interrogate me and ask where I was going, and trying to be as calm as possible. And I didn't have any tears left to cry. I just had like completely stone cold faced, red eyes, but no tears coming out. And I lost all the fucks I had to give. I was just entirely in survival mode. And I remember specifically that asshole was just. I will say this. That was the first time I actually saw him cry. He's a very emotionless man any other way. To sum it up, that was the first time I saw him break down in tears, because I guess he realized this is my only flesh and blood, and she's leaving permanently, and she doesn't even want me to touch her stuff, and she's looking at me with such a look of, like, disgust, but also like she expected it, and like she couldn't expect anything more from me, and that she's done with me, and that I'm a stranger, like any man on the street. I think he felt that way, and then he started, like, just, he couldn't hold it in. He just started sobbing like hella bad and shaking. I don't remember what he said, but I think he was trying to say he was worried for me and cared for me. What a fucking lame ass bitch. We all know that wasn't true, because we all saw the things that he did and did not do. What a lame ass bitch. And I'm over it. He's not a good person. Anyway, on the bright side, the most useful thing, he and all of the other people who wasted away my sanity and made me into a much lower quality. No, I shouldn't say that about myself. I'm still a high quality person. I still have a lot of ambition and goals I want to achieve. It just sucks that it's like, if I didn't have so much trauma and bullshit from them, maybe there's some alternate reality where I could have gone to, like, film school, or I don't know. Well, I can't dwell on what could have been different or not, because it's like, I did the best I could in my situation, and all of the things that I did for my own survival, things that they didn't know about or didn't, everyone showed me that I was entirely right to do what I had done, and there's not much I can do but go forward. And I can still any day become a filmmaker or an artist and have all my passions continuously going and be happy, and I just have to recognize that and make strides every day to be happy, regardless of the fucked up life and cards that had been dealt to me. And I recognize my feelings as valid, and I'll just recognize what I do and do not want in a partner, or do and do not want in, like, the father of my own children. And yeah. Anyway, the most useful thing he did for me was send me money to my GoFundMe after I left. And so did the other people in my family. Because I guess deep down they didn't want to find out that I died in some random fucking hotel room, or got raped on the streets, or get lost and stranded somewhere. So at least I'll give them that credit. Not everyone's so lucky to have that. God bless. Which reminds me, I should make a video of all the things you'll need if you're going to escape an abusive household or leave fucked up people. And then, I guess the absolute final time I had ever dealt with my biological father without seeing him. I remember this happened, sometime when I was dating my high school ex-boyfriend several years ago, like 2 years ago. And I remember one night I just thought to myself, life is going on, and it's been almost a full year, or almost a full year at that point, maybe even more, since I had left them. And here I am, still not, like, embracing my true self. I'm still afraid to get online and say that I'm gay or non-binary, or to talk about my sexual past, or talk about, like, things that I like or do not like, because I'm so afraid my family is watching me, or that I'm gonna get punished or hurt or even killed if I talk about certain topics. Like, I doubt I will be, but at the same time, I already made my past video. You can take guesses on the obvious mistreatment I can get from this fucked up family. I'll say this. I remember I just snapped, and at some point I just told my ex at the time, I was like, hey, listen, I gotta go outside. I'll talk to you later. And I went outside of his house at the time in Mill Valley, and I recorded a video just letting loose everything that my mom did to me, about how young my mom was when she had all her kids, and how her fucked up trauma fucked us all up, and how I wish that she did better as a parent, but also wish that she had better parents, and how I pitied her and sympathized with her, but overall still will never ever ever feel the same way I did when I was 4 years old, and adored her as a parent despite all the wrong she did. And I talked about that candidly while crying, just like I did now. And I thought, okay, I don't care if Troll will see this video and mock me for crying. I don't care if my family, I don't care. But I do remember at the time, I had my aunt on my mom's side. She called me up and started boo-hooing about, like, all the shit I went through with my mom that she never knew about, and how she was sorry. And I remember even in that moment I thought, my own aunt is kind of abusive to her own kids, so I don't even know how I feel about this. Like, pot meat kettle type shit, you know? But I will say, like, I appreciated that she was like, yeah, your mom's a fucking bitch, and I'm sorry that you went through that, blah, blah, blah. Even though my aunt later on betrayed me, but don't worry, we'll talk about that some other day. And I will say this. Anyway. And then I remember specifically around that time, that was when Sprint was turning into T-Mobile or whatever the fuck, and they were changing networks up, blah, blah, blah. Let's just say I still had the phone that my dad got me, and I was talking to him and stuff. And in a nutshell, this bitch ass nigga was not responding to any texts I sent him. And then my aunt reached out and was like, oh yeah, he's ignoring you on purpose because he wants you to apologize to your mom and delete the video. And I just thought to myself, oh, okay, so he clearly did not learn his lesson from before, that taking the side of the woman who dedicated a large portion of her life to hurting me was not going to fare well for him. And so, you know what I did? I went, you know what, fuck this shit. If he wants to play those games, if he wants to act funny, let's get fucking hilarious. I picked up an extra shift at work. I fucking paid for my own fucking phone bill. I got a new phone number, got a new phone, everything. And I entirely estranged all of those bitches. For good. Like officially. And that's very wonderful, and they deserve all of it. And that also pissed off some members of my family even more, because all they can do is hope that they can comment on YouTube videos or like anything, and it's not working. They just get blocked and deleted like the pathetic fucking slags they are. And so, yeah, that was the final ever interaction I've had with him since. He was a very flawed man in a lot of ways, and I think I might make a part 2 of this, even though this video is almost 40 minutes long. But I will say this. He had a lot of fucking issues. He could have been a much better parent. And I don't know what the fuck happened between him and his dad, or him and his mom. I already know his mom was a nut job, though, and was making him lose his goddamn mind when he was young. But it's just like, ugh. The annoying thing about generational trauma is, like, the trauma. But the good part is you're also ending fucked up cycles, because you're like, yay, I get to cut off my family and do inner work to make sure that if I have a kid, I'm not going to do what the fuck they did. I'm not going to be overbearing and obsessive and controlling like my mother was, but I'm not going to be so aloof and out of the picture and just vacant that my kid could be going through anything and I would not know, like my dad did. I'm going to be interested in their hobbies and not jealous of them or destructive of their hobbies or shit on their hobbies. I'm going to be caring and motivated, and I'm going to make sure that if I marry someone, that they're going to be putting an actual effort to be emotionally stable, safe human beings who are fucking good for me. And that's what I require. Absolutely. So yeah, on the bright side, he should be grateful, because I was going to get on the internet and describe that time he found a used condom in one of his ex-girlfriends, but I'm not going to talk about that story, because he can talk about that with my mom, who probably still has a restraining order against him, and they could be mad about that. Sorry to end that video on such a... I probably should have not even said that. I'm sorry. Here we were about to have some sort of cathartic mic drop ending of, oh, as long as I'm not either my mom or my father, I should have a good kid. And then I just went, oh, good thing I wasn't going to mention that really horrific fucking disgusting story I know about my dad. But he should be grateful. I could go in depth about that, but let's not. Anyway, sorry. Pretend I didn't say that. Let's get back in character. So yeah, as long as I actually put in a nice effort to be loving and safe for my kids, and let them know that they're prioritized, to not make them feel like they're a burden or that they're hard to love or hard to take care of. The bright side is I was pretty self preserving as a kid, so even if I felt like no one actually loved me or cared about me, I still made sure that I still loved and cared about myself. But some people aren't so lucky, and in situations like that, with fathers like that, they end up having fucked up lives. And I guess, yeah, I'm glad everything still went pretty well, all things considered. Peace out. God bless. Alright, bye. Take care of yourselves.